Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, April 29th. Ian Cameron with you. Alex B. Smith will be here in a little bit as well. And we're here to talk Wednesday NHL Stanley Cup playoff action. 3 more games on tap tonight in Stanley Cup playoff NHL action. Montreal, Tampa Bay, with that series tied at 2 games apiece. Utah, Vegas, that series tied at 2 games apiece. A couple of game 5s. And we have another elimination game tonight between the Pittsburgh Penguins and Philadelphia Flyers. Game 6 in Philadelphia. The Flyers with a third chance to put away the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see if they are able to do that here tonight. We'll look back first on last night, and not a great betting night at all, unfortunately, but the games were entertaining. And we look back at it, and Boston won the game, but they couldn't score in the first period for me. When I wanted them to do something, unfortunately. But look, let's give the Bruins credit. And that's why I was leery of endorsing the Sabres yesterday, because it's other than Jason Zucker, we mentioned all the people, Jason Zucker, Bo Byram, just a handful of players, Alex Tuck, just a handful of players on the Buffalo Sabres with previous playoff experience. We were worried about whether that team would have the experience factor, the how to go about it, the process, knowing the process and what you have to do to eliminate an opponent, especially a team with pedigree, with tradition, with veterans like the Boston Bruins. And I was worried the Buffalo Sabres would struggle with that a little bit. And they certainly did in that game. And like I said, they got their early lead, 1-0. And it felt like, that was a big goal by Rasmus Dahlin, maybe put Boston on their heels. But this time, Boston didn't crumble. And I don't know how the hell they crumbled so badly Sunday at home when things started to unravel. But that could have been an unraveling moment. Buffalo getting that early power play goal. It didn't. I mean, they stuck with it. They defended. The gap was tighter. They weren't turning the puck over in the defensive zone, which really led to a lot of the Buffalo goals on Sunday. And they relied on Jeremy Swayman, who was not just good. He was tremendous last night. He was excellent. I know Boston outshot Buffalo 29-26. Buffalo still had a lot of really good chances in that game last night, and Jeremy Swayman was outstanding. And you knew he would play well because he's the only Bruin that played well on Sunday. Everybody else hung him out to dry. But a great response from the Boston Bruins. Elias Lindholm got the game tied 1-1. It was a scoreless third. The game goes to overtime, and been crying out for a Pastrnak moment. David Pastrnak, putting his stamp on this series at some point, and he hasn't had a great series to this point, but he certainly did that. Beautiful move, with the backhand to forehand, the deep move, sliding the puck in past a sprawling Alex Lyon to win the game in overtime. And the Boston Bruins, after as bad a game as you could ever imagine on Sunday at home, turn around and go to Buffalo and keep their season alive with a 2-1 victory in overtime over the Buffalo Sabres. Give the Bruins a ton of credit. And now the pressure shifts a little to Buffalo. That being said, I went back and looked at Boston's home playoff record. You know what it is since 2023? And it's already their 0-2 at home this series. They're 3-9 in their last 12 home playoff games. So before we think Boston's got all the momentum and is going to finally turn it around at home, how many years have we seen the Bruin playoff hopes die on home ice with a home loss? How many times has their season ended in the playoffs the last few years with a home loss? It feels like it's happened a lot. And I think Buffalo will be better in Game 6, and they have been a good road team all year. So I think it's fair to assume that just automatically Boston's going to have the momentum in Game 6. We'll talk about that more, obviously, on Friday when that series resumes. We also, of course, last night saw the Minnesota Wild take a 3-2 series lead over the Dallas Stars, 4-2 win. Dallas just can't score at even strength anymore. Well, they did get the Jason Robertson goal, finally to snap an ugly, I think it was almost 160 minutes, 170 minutes in the series in a row for the Dallas Stars without an even strength 5-on-5 goal until Jason Robertson made it 3-2 in the third. I mean, it's just been absolutely awful as far as what we have seen from Dallas at even strength. A lot of their damage has been on the power play. And last night, of course, we saw the first goal ended up being a power play goal from Miro Heiskanen. Robertson got the second. Of course, Minnesota's power play has been good. And boy, talked about how big a deal Matt Zuccarello might be in returning to the lineup, how good he's been. He scores the first goal for the Wild. He makes their power play certainly better for the Wild. And it was just a really solid performance. There's that Michael McCarron guy again scoring a big goal. But great win for the Wild, 4-2. Dallas, again, you worry about, back-to-back years with the conference finals and all the hockey they've played, and they're battling injuries. And not to mention Mikko Rantanen hasn't had a great series. I know he had an assist last night, and he's had, I think, 4 or 5 assists, but you didn't expect him to have just 1 goal, in 5 games in this series. And he's a goal scorer. And that's the kind of thing you expect from him. So, like I said, Dallas, though, they're going to have to improve a lot. Because there's been multiple times in this series where it's looking like, Minnesota's just flat out better than them right now. Game 1, they looked that way. You could even say parts of game 2, even though Dallas won that game, Minnesota looked a little bit better. And then even in the Minnesota games, the game 3 and game 4, those were close games for the most part. And then, of course, Minnesota was just better last night. So Dallas with their backs against the wall, but still a lot of pressure on Minnesota. They still have one more win to get. This is a franchise that has not gotten out of the first round since 2015. That's 11 years ago. And if there's any team in any city that's capable of choking away a 3-2 series lead and not taking advantage of an opportunity to close out a series on home ice, it's Minnesota sports. It's Minnesota sports. Okay? They're capable of it. Trust me. So the job is not done. I think Minnesota's getting stronger in this series. Dallas is getting a little, obviously weaker. They've struggled at even strength, but the job is not done. Minnesota's got to get that 4th. And if, like I said, if there's one city that can choke and piss this away, it's Minnesota. So still work to be done, but you got to like where they're at right now, just as a team. And like I said, getting Matt Zuccarello back was big. Jamie Benn with the cross check to the head. I like Ryan Hartman gets under your skin. I get that, but you can't be doing that. That's crossing the line. And Jamie Benn, when he does get his wires crossed every now and then, we saw it a few years ago with Mark Stoney in a playoff series against Vegas. So, like I said, big issues. And yeah, Matt Boldy outstanding. I mean, Matt Boldy is so good. Such a tremendous offensive player. And he put it on display last night as well. Hats off to the Edmonton Oilers. I never doubted Connor McDavid was going to play. I mean, I know we were saying game time decision. We were just basically reciting what the coach was saying. I don't think anybody I certainly didn't have any doubts he was going to play last night for the Edmonton Oilers. And look, give Edmonton credit. The Connor Ingram decision ended up being a good one. And like I said, that's why he's the coach. He's got to believe that his decision is the right one. And Connor Ingram played well, but and it's a weird game because it'll show 30-20 for Anaheim in shots, 24-8 in the last 2 periods for Anaheim. It makes you think, boy, Anaheim dominated. Those 30 shots, I'm telling you, there wasn't as much grade A, high quality, high danger in those looks, in those shots, and in those chances as we've seen Anaheim have previously in the series. I know it says 30-20 for Anaheim in shots, but Edmonton did play a better defensive game last night as a team. Give them credit. Ingram was solid. And like I said, that big 3-0 lead early in the first period, I really think paid a lot of dividends for the Edmonton Oilers last night. Podkolzin, I don't think Bob Stauffer, longtime Oilers analyst, talk show host for the Oilers locally in Edmonton, when he asked the question post-game of Vasily Podkolzin, I don't think he was fibbing when he said he's been the best forward for Edmonton. He has, in my opinion. Vasily Podkolzin has had an outstanding series here against the Anaheim Ducks, and it makes you think, what the hell would they do without him, with the way he's played. But obviously for McDavid at less than 100%, still was able to get a couple of assists. Boy, was it great news for Edmonton to see Leon Draisaitl, who's had a bit of a tepid series. I don't want to say a bad series. He's had a tepid series. It was nice to see him get, obviously, 2 goals in that Game 5 victory to stay alive and force the Game 6 last night. So, like I said, give Edmonton a lot of credit. But you know what? That game, thank goodness I had Edmonton team total over 3.5. I added that about 20 minutes before the game started when McDavid was ruled in because they had scored 4+ goals 3 of the 4 games in the series and both home games. I figured I think they can probably still get to 4 with their backs against the wall because everything else fell short in that one. We did take Anaheim earlier in the day. We did take the Matty Rob special, not cashing, was just gut wrenching. Over 1.5 first period did hit, obviously. Over 5.5 falls short because it ended 4-1. Coach Q still pulls the goalie, Ville Husso. Of course, Lukas Dostal got pulled in the first period, and we still couldn't get an empty net goal, couldn't get a goal from Anaheim. That was tough. It was a tough night overall. And it was a tough night for our elimination game angle. And look, it's 3 games in a row going back to Monday now where we've seen it cool off quite a bit. Third period overs, 0 in the last 3 elimination games. The full game overs, 0 in the last 3 elimination games, although that was a horrific beat on our betcast Monday night with that Pittsburgh Philly, who deserved that over and didn't hit it. But the bottom line is the third period overs are 0-3 in the last 3 elimination games. Now, here's where I'm at with that, because I'm already getting people texting me saying, oh, we got to panic and alter our strategy. No, we don't. We just have to pivot a little bit. Here's what we do. What we do is we still go ahead in elimination games. And of course, we've got another one tonight with Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. What we're going to end up doing here is we're going to still bet the empty net props pregame. We're still going to bet a little third period over pregame. But what I'm doing is I'm going to go a little more less of a fraction of those bets before the game, evaluate where the game is at, say second period. And if the team that is trying to eliminate their opponent is leading, say midway through the game, late second period, then we're going to jump pretty hard on the overs live. That's pretty much what we're going to do, because what we are seeing is there is a bit of a difference in the success and the success of this angle based on the team that's trying to eliminate their opponent leading versus that team trying to eliminate their opponent trailing during the game. And the perfect example is these last 3 games, which all fell short. Who was trying to eliminate their opponent Monday night? Philadelphia. They were trying to eliminate Pittsburgh. Why did the third period over, all that, why did it fall short? Well, because Philadelphia was never trailing in that game. It was that, or never leading, I should say, in that game, Philadelphia. Pittsburgh had the lead, 2-0, 2-1, and you got to a point where in that third period, Pittsburgh had the lead, the team that was facing elimination, and it did slow down a decent amount. You flip that around, and Philly's leading 3-2 in the third period. There's probably a more open up and down third period in that game. I don't think there's much question about that. You look at Boston-Buffalo last night. Yeah, Buffalo led 1-0, but they didn't make it 2. Boston tied it midway through the game. And then at 1-1, there's not that utmost pressure on the Bruins facing elimination to open up the game. They're fine with it being 1-1 and try to capitalize on a mistake and rely on defense and Jeremy Swayman in net, who was tremendous last night. So the game script, the game flow worked against the third period overs in that game, as it did third period Pittsburgh-Philly. And then Anaheim-Edmonton last night, with Edmonton facing elimination, the game flow and the game script worked against the third period overs there because Edmonton's leading the whole game pretty much, instead of trailing at any point where they have to really try to open up and push for offense. So you have to remember that. It's the game flow and the game script, and we had 3 games in a row where the team facing elimination, Pittsburgh, Boston, Edmonton, they weren't significantly trailing in the latter stages of those games. And I think that hurt it a little bit. So that's why I say we're not abandoning the strategy. It works long term. You still look pregame at your empty net props. You still look at pregame at the third period over, but you scale back maybe just a little bit. You reevaluate and you reassess live in game. Is the team facing elimination ahead? Is the team or is a team that is trying to eliminate their opponent ahead? Is the team facing elimination behind? And if that is the case, as we get to that second half of the game, latter stage of the game, then we pounce more on the live overs. That's what you do, and that's what you do. We don't just say, "Wow, it's lost 3 in a row. We're just going to abandon ship and not bet third period overs anymore in an elimination game." That's a bunch of nonsense. I'm not even asking for that, and I'm hearing people say maybe we
I
need
got
to
to
start.
jump. I got to jump in. Got to jump in and stop you, Ian, because
Yeah,
this is what you said. It's not a system. It's a strategy,
yeah,
and everybody's betting it like it's a system. It's not a system. If you look at even just my
that's
card
a good
with
point. Yeah,
how I've gone through in the third period, every play hasn't been involving the full game over. Every play hasn't been involving just strictly 2 or 2.5. I've been telling you to shop around and look around within different games. In fact, for tonight, I have a different strategy with this game six personally because of the fact that I have bets pre-flop that are affected with this game now being the 6 game, 7 game stack. So you got to remember that it's a strategy. It's not a system. This isn't something we're
right.
just blindly betting through every. The only thing blindly betting through is the empty net goal in the game. Yes, because that can affect either team. But everything else has to be looked at as an individual play. And like you said, there is the opening of adding to it live, which what you were dead on right about. The live strategy with the third period is looking for the team that is trying to advance to be in the lead because it opens things up for that trailing team. But that doesn't necessarily have to be affected in your pregame bet. Perfect example was the night before last with Philly Edmonton. I'm sorry, Philly Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won that game, but we had empty net goal. Yes, you had third period over, and Pittsburgh still shoving it. So yeah, we aren't just stacking these and betting them blindly because it's an elimination game. There's still some variances and
Yeah,
nuances you have to handicap within those elimination spots.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just system is just you see it pop up, it's automatically you bet it. In this you've got to tinker a little bit. You're right, based on the teams, based on the situation. I think the general thought process, though, and what I'm trying to hammer home is that this is a stronger strategy when the team that is obviously trying to eliminate their opponent is leading
Yes.
backstretch of the second period, going into the third period, and the team that's facing elimination is trailing back half of the second period and going into the third period. That's why Ottawa, Carolina on Saturday was a perfect, why it worked perfectly. That's why Colorado, Los Angeles on Sunday, that's why it worked perfectly. Colorado was ahead. Colorado got that 2-1 lead in the second, and then they added to it 3-1 early in the third, and then the angle is, or the strategy, I should say, is gold at that point. It's fantastic. LA's got to open up, and there's going to be chances for chaos later in the game, scoring-wise.
And when you're looking at those teams that are looking to advance, we talk about killer instinct. We talked about, teams who have no problem pouring it on. Colorado, the team that has no problem pouring it on. They'll score 6, 7 goals if you give them a chance to, which is why I like that third period alternate team total over 1.5. I haven't
Yeah.
bet that with the Philly Pittsburgh series because
No,
I don't see that kind of a pace. I wouldn't be betting that anything like that in Boston Buffalo because I
no.
haven't seen that kind of killer instinct from those teams. So there's still a series by series kind of system you have to look at this within the strategy. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's just we're not abandoning the strategy. That's the one thing we will not do. And someone was asking, do we have to abandon the strategy now? It's okay. I get it. It's lost 3 in a row. It's this question because of it losing 3 in a row, third period overs. Some people want to ask it. No, you don't abandon the strategy. You pivot and you assess live during the game how the game flow's going. You have to be watching too. You have to see the
Yep.
pace. There was no pace in Boston Buffalo last night.
Right.
You could tell right away when that was 1-1 going into the third. I had an inkling actually going into the third. This damn thing's going to end 1-1 in regulation. And that's exactly what happened. So you've got to be watching it. You got to be seeing the pace, and you got to be able to assess live. Really, it's that simple.
It's the funniest thing to me, and it's been like this for the 12, 13 years I've been betting this sport where if we have a trend, whether it's first period over, whether it's draw, whether it's the number of different things we look at, second period overs after a 1-0, whatever you have, people get so wrapped up in just betting it blindly, and then if it loses 3 or 4 games, they're ready to sell off everything and abandon ship. Where if they're betting sides or total straight up, and then they lose 5, 6, 7 in a row, you never hear them say, "Well, I'm going to take a break off totals," or maybe I should avoid playing these dogs that are plus 200. I never hear that. I only hear it when it's systems that have actually proven to run on a hot track and win more often than not. And then all of a sudden it loses 4 games, and now everybody's shitting bricks. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. That's actually definitely something I've noticed too. But like I said, no, we're not panicking that it's 0-3 now run in the third period overs in elimination games. No, we just we pivot, we adjust, and we look at different ways to attack it. And like I said, it's going to be more live wagering centric now with it moving forward. Less on the pregame, and we'll jump in live, and that includes my Dub Club people that are subscribed there on that platform. I'm going to be posting more toward that third period over angle live when we see the team that's facing elimination trailing deeper into the deeper waters of the game. And that's probably what's going to lead to it being a bit stronger. Alex, welcome in. I mean, I didn't even get a chance to welcome you in because you jumped in there. But good stuff. Alex here, obviously. Great thoughts, too, on what I was saying. But anything you want to add about the 3 games last night?
Dallas has run out of steam. It's plain and simple. The Wild are playing fantastic, but the way that Dallas is just, I mean, they came out a little bit of energy in the first period, but just absolutely nothing from literally that last timeout of the first period where they were just scrambling trying to get off the ice. You had the goal that ended up getting pulled back from Boldy where it hit the pad, but they were just in each of the end of the period, you could just tell they were just like shaking and scrambling, like, get us to the fucking locker room. That's a horrible way to be playing hockey right now in the playoffs. And I don't understand it. It's one of the things I think we did both say when we were talking about this series preview. There shouldn't be a fatigue issue for either of these two teams. They knew they were going to play each other from as far back as fucking Thanksgiving. You knew what kind of style of hockey you were going to get into if you're both of these teams, and fatigue should not have been an issue for Dallas. The way that they kind of played, nonchalant hockey to wrap up, end of March, last few days of April, had that kind of little bit of a struggle. It seemed like, okay, well, they're just kind of taking it easy to get themselves ready for this. No, they just didn't have it, and they don't have it. Now, we're still talking about Choke City. Still talking about Minnesota needing one more win at home of all places to wrap things up, where, yes, they play better at home overall, but the pressure of that crowd's anticipating breaking the streak. Now the pressure's on you because, okay, if you don't take care of business at home, you got to go back to Dallas for a 7th game. Yeah, sure, it's no Pete DeBoer around anymore, but that's still a Dallas team that has found ways to win 7 games. You don't want to give them any life. Show some killer instinct if you're the Minnesota Wild for once in your fucking franchise's life. Take care of business at home in front of your home fans. Take out a team that is completely gassed and move on to the second round of the Western Conference quadrant. That's what we need to see from Minnesota, and it could possibly happen tomorrow night. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there, like I said, in that game. Anaheim, Edmonton. Edmonton played that first period as if they knew that whole group was going to be dissolved if they lost that game last night. And I said that on Twitter last night.
Almost like Last Dance. We don't want the band broken up. We can't end it this way.
That's exactly how they played that first period. And look at even the second and third period. They really kind of broken Anaheim's spirit. And Coach Quenneville's been in that spot many a time before where he's had a team that was looking to close on the road in a game 5, and they lose. And then they back off and they say, okay, let's conserve our energy, take care of things in game 6. As a Hawks fan, we loved game 6 back in the day because game 6 meant money time. That meant payday. That meant let's take care of business and move on to the next round. So we'll see what happens with that one with Anaheim and Edmonton. Definitely going to be exciting to see how that series wraps up, whether it's game 6 or game 7.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, they miss Rope Hintz. That's something that a lot of people have forgotten about, that Rope Hintz hasn't played yet in this series, and it's certainly hurt them. But yeah, I can't go to the well with the excuses of we're tired, we're fatigued. Even for Dallas, I know they went to the Western Conference Finals multiple years in a row. I know they've made long playoff runs, but you also freaking coasted your way into these playoffs with regular season games that didn't matter. You basically had second in the Central locked up. Just like if Minnesota loses this series, I don't want to hear from them either that they were tired and they wore down. And I don't want to hear that from Dallas. Dallas looks tired. I'm not using that as an excuse. You're just getting your ass beat. How about you just for once, instead of using excuses and using injuries and Rope Hintz out and we're tired and we've gone to the conference finals 2 years in a row. How about you just say right now, Minnesota's playing better hockey than us. They've shut us down at 5-on-5. Sometimes that's what you got to say. You just got to say that other team's beating us right now.
If any team were to use mental fatigue to possibly be an excuse to lose the series, it would have to be Minnesota, the team that's made it year after year after year and can't get out of the fucking first round. Way more than a Dallas team where your caveat is you can't find a way to win the Western Conference and get to the fucking Stanley Cup final. There's a huge difference between losing in that third round a couple of years in a row and losing in that first round for a fucking decade. Ask anybody in Toronto. So, like I said, you can't use that excuse here for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. If you get bounced in either Game 6 or Game 7, I don't want to hear, well, we went to the conference. And I don't even want to hear it from Edmonton if they lose to Anaheim, that they've gone to the Cup final multiple years.
No. Well, Edmonton's got their reasons.
Yeah,
I would accept that from Edmonton because Edmonton, and it's deeper than the last 2 years.
Yeah,
it's deeper than the last year. This Edmonton debacle can go back a fucking decade on.
They got 3 centers playing hurt too. McDavid,
right.
David Draisaitl and Dickinson. Yeah. They've got way more reasons to use the injury crutch and the worn down and exhausted crutch than Dallas. There's no question. Edmonton can play that card. I don't want to hear it from Dallas. So from that standpoint, there's a big difference. All right, let's get into tonight. This is a great night. We've got really tonight, tomorrow, and Friday. We've got 6 of the 8 first-round series going at least 6 games. How good is that? I mean, we've had 2 sweeps, Carolina over Ottawa, Colorado over LA. Every other series in this first round is going at least 6. And that also means we have 6 opportunities to have a Game 7 here in this first round. Incredible. I think we're going to get multiple Game 7s. I do. It's, to me, are we really going to see 5 or all 6 end in 6 games? I think we're going to have a chance to have multiple Game 7s at the very least here in this first round. And boy, oh boy, would that be exciting. But we got to get there first. And we start with a pivotal Game 5 with the series tied 2-2, Montreal, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay minus 170, home favorites, 5.5 the total. Mentioned taking Anaheim last night. Didn't work out. But I don't regret it because we said going into that game, we thought, given the situation, Anaheim probably shouldn't have been that big of an underdog last night. And I still don't think they should have, even though and I knew McDavid was going to play because based on the flow of this, that series and the way Anaheim's played with confidence and Edmonton's been shaky all series with defense and with goaltending, I just didn't buy Anaheim being that big of a dog. And my thought process with Anaheim last night is where I'm at here in this game. Montreal is not plus 150 to Tampa. They're not that. This should be minus 130 or 40. And I think I said that multiple times in this series about where Tampa Bay's been priced as a home favorite. Need I remind you how awful they've been in these home games? They are 2-11 in their last 13 home playoff games. The Tampa Bay Lightning, 2-11. And they've already lost one of the home games in this series already. Between the Canadiens and the Lightning. Canadiens beat them in Game 1, and Tampa needed overtime. And Kirby Dach icing the puck and losing coverage on J.J. Moser for the Lightning just to escape Tampa with a split, 1-1. They're that close to being down 0-2 in the series in the first 2 games in Tampa Bay. You factor in their 2-11 in their last 13 home playoff games. Yeah, I'm on Montreal here. I didn't even have to think twice about it. Plus 150. Now, you could say they're that close to going up 3-1 in the series. Uri Slafkovsky gets laid out by Max Crozier at center. Big late second period goal to make it 2-1. Those 2 events flipped that game because Tampa Bay was on their heels. Tampa Bay was in big trouble before that. The big hit on Slafkovsky, the goal right after late in the second to get it to 2-1. Hagel ties it early in the third, and you got that sense that Tampa Bay was starting to find it, and they were going to find a way to steal it going in the third period of Game 4, and they did. Give them credit. Hagel was a monster in the third period with those 2 goals, and they hung on for the win and tied the series. And Montreal's going to feel like, God, we should have won that game. We had it. We're up 2-0. And we found a way to lose. And you could look at this game and say, well, this young team now, they're going to wilt. They're going to fade away. That's too much of a mental blow to overcome. Losing that game, losing your opportunity at home to go up 3-1 in the series. I say BS to that. I think they're a resilient group, Montreal. And I think Marty St. Louis' coaching will allow that. He's been through the wars and the ups and downs and the momentum swings of a playoff series as a player many years ago with this Tampa Bay Lightning organization. I think Montreal can right the ship, pick themselves up off the mat and have a chance to win this game tonight. I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but you can't convince me the value is not anywhere but the Montreal Canadiens tonight at plus 150 with the way this series has gone. So I'm on the bleu, blanc, rouge, le Canadien, le Canadien. We are on the Montreal Canadiens here, plus 150 in this one. I have no idea what I'm going to do with these totals tonight. I think it's kind of dicey. I mean, 5.5, but we have seen a shift and these games starting to tighten up a little bit. Other than Minnesota Dallas, that was the one game that did go over the total last night, the Wild and the Stars. So totals wise, we'll see. I mean, I'm never ever betting an under at 5.5. I would need 6 or more for that. But like I said, as far as the overs are concerned, I find the last couple games in this series, more of the damage has been early in the games. Where we've seen first period overs and we have seen both teams to score on occasion, cash in the first period. And then we've seen the last couple games in this series after the flurry of goals in the opening 20 minutes kind of slow down a bit as well. What I do like too, and there's a bunch of props I do like in this game. I'll get to those in a moment. One of them is Andrei Vasilevskiy over saves. I heard Montreal saying we need to throw more pucks at the net, and I agree with that. 18 shots is not enough in Game 4 for the Montreal Canadiens. So I think there's going to be an onus, shoot the puck a little bit more, get more volume, get more traffic, make life a little bit more difficult for Andrei Vasilevskiy. And Vasilevsky's saves prop is only 22.5 in this game. It's a low number. So I think there's a chance that Vasilevskiy over saves at 22.5 could be worth a look here. Alex, what do you think for Game 5, a pivotal one, Habs Lightning?
Yeah, this is where we start to see series shift, right? We tend to see, if it's been a high scoring series, you tend to see the defense really sharpen up and kind of clamp down, play a little bit more tight to the vest, a little low and slow hockey. I think we could see that here. I'm not playing a total here, but I like this game to go to overtime, which has been the story of the series. Plus 330 at FanDuel, which, God, I can't remember the last time FanDuel had the best price for a draw around, but that is the case. But also, if you look in that game special spot, you can grab either team to win in overtime, plus 600. I'm going with Tampa Bay here. Now, of course, I do have a little piece of Tampa Bay in this series, but I feel like this is one of those games where, even with Montreal, with what they've learned in the last couple of years, I still think this is a game where I trust a veteran team with a Vasilevskiy, with a Kucherov, with a Hagel to find a way. Not saying that they probably don't even deserve to win this game. It's going to be that kind of a close battle. I think this is going to be a game where we see the Habs dominate. We see it tied. We see the Habs with a bunch of chances, and then all of a sudden, it's that flash knockdown. It's that uppercut that no one saw coming, and the Lightning end up with this win and the lead 3-2. So that's the way I'm playing this here. Lightning plus 600 to win in overtime or shootout, along with the draw plus 330, and a little piece of Lightning to score first goal, first period, plus 115.
All right, Lightning first goal, first period, Lightning in overtime. Liking the draw. I mean, the draw finally didn't hit in Game 4. First time in this series we had not seen overtime between these two teams. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. As far as props for this game, I already mentioned the Vasilevskiy saves prop, but there's a few more that I'm interested in here as well. Let me just bring up the current lineups here as far as this game's concerned. I think there could be a couple of subtle changes here for the Canadians. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm seeing Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky. Top line's going to be unaltered. But I'm seeing Josh Anderson, Phil Deneau, Jake Evans, Alex Newhook, Brendan Gallagher, Ivan Demidov, or Ivan Demidov, I should say, Zach Bolduc, Kirby Doc, Alex Tessier. I thought Joe Veleno was going to be in, but he's not. I knew Oliver Kapanen was going to be out because everyone was talking about Kapanen being a healthy scratch tonight. So that's not surprising. But I heard Veleno would be the guy coming in. It looks like Brendan Gallagher's the guy coming into the lineup. And, I thought this could have been done earlier in the series. I know his foot speed's an issue. That's always the issue with Gallagher. It's always been, can he keep up at this stage of he was never a speed burner to begin with. But at this stage of his career, can he keep up with the pace of the game? But I think at this point, he'll give you the grit and, go to the front of the net. And that's what you need more of right now. Vasilevskiy, you could tell with that win, he's probably only going to get more confidence in him because this hasn't been a stellar vintage Andrei Vasilevskiy series so far. But you could tell he got it going in Game 4 a little bit. Once Tampa came back, we were able to see, obviously, him get more confidence, and you give this guy confidence, he can be dangerous. So how do you throw him off? You got to take the eyes away, crash the net, go to the blue paint. That's one thing you're going to get with Brendan Gallagher and him being in the lineup. No question. And I feel for Ivan Demidov because he's getting his chances, but he's got no confidence right now with the puck. None. I mean, he's missing the net. He's shanking the shot. He is just having all kinds of issues finishing right now for the Montreal Canadiens. And that can't happen. They need something from him offensively, especially if, Caulfield is going to be shut down, at 5-on-5, which has been the case for most of the series. Slafkovsky had that tremendous early part of the series, especially game one. But even he's kind of quieted down a little bit since then. So need some of these guys to get going here if you're the Montreal Canadiens. But anyway, as far as the props here for this particular game tonight, shots on goal. Zach Bolduc's gone over 1.5 shots in 3 straight games. And he obviously got on the board last game for Montreal. I mean, I'm at the point now with the props where it's almost like, you count on the guys that are showing up for you. And suddenly Bolduc is starting to, feel it a little bit. I'm going to take a shot with Gallagher, too, entering the lineup, that maybe he gets on the board. And both of them are in that plus 700 price range to score a goal tonight, Brendan Gallagher and Zach Bolduc. So I think both of those are nice little down the board, under the radar bets worth a shot. Brandon Hagel's just can't be stopped right now. That's eventually going to have to change if you're Montreal, but he's scored in every game in this series so far. Obviously, you're only getting plus 145 for him to find the back of the net. But like I said, no argument if you're interested in Brandon Hagel to score. Lane Hutson's collected a point in 4 straight games. I know it's minus 160, a little pricey, but you could certainly look in that direction. Tessier has gotten a point in back-to-back games for Montreal, although I'm seeing he might be on the 4th line tonight. So keep that in mind. You may not get that same amount of ice time for him here in this game tonight. Tampa Bay, it looks like their lines are going to be Hagel, Point, Kucherov, Gord, Cirelli, Gensel. There's not going to be a huge adjustment necessarily for them going into this game tonight. As far as blocked shots, we've got Caden Gooley and Lane Hutson have gone over 1.5 blocked shots, 3 straight games. If the Habs finally start shooting the puck more, putting more pucks at net, Ryan McDonough could be and Chernak for that matter, both of them, their shot block props over 1.5 could be worth a look. And like I said, I do like Vasilevsky over saves tonight. It does sound like much. And Gord does have value. I agree. If I'm going to look at value, Yanni Gord is with Cirelli and Gensel on that second line. So there's some pretty good value there. I think Radish, too. Radish remains a power play threat. Radish has been shooting the puck quite a bit. So Darren Radish, anything involving him, I don't mind the props for that defenseman either for the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, next up, it is the Battle of Pennsylvania, which is getting more and more interesting. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Flyers minus 120, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. I'm going to be brief because it's just I'm running it back again. Now, the only thing we didn't get was Philly coming back and winning in Game 5, but 2 games in a row I've been on Pittsburgh goal in the first period, Pittsburgh first goal first period. I'm on it again. They're the team with their backs against the wall. They've come out strong in these last two games since they were down 3-0 in the series. They've gotten that first goal. They've gotten it early in the first period. Why change it? I think Pittsburgh first goal first period is the look. Goal in the first period once that price falls to a decent level. And then only once that happens, and if that happens, will I bet Philadelphia money line. I'm not betting it pregame because I do think there's a pretty good chance we're going to end up seeing Pittsburgh get that first goal again here in this one. And that's pretty much what I'm going to go with here. We do want to point out with the first period overs, they have not been doing well. The first period unders have been doing very well in these playoffs, but it opens the door for this, and the angle cashed beautifully for us in this very series on Monday night during the betcast, where it was 1-0 Pittsburgh after the first period, and then we got the both teams to score second period and second period over for a 1-0 first period. It lost last night with Boston Buffalo, and I will say that I bet it because the system's been so good. But I was worried about it in that Bruins Sabres game because you just saw the pace be such a slog last night between the Bruins and Sabres, and it didn't hit because we only got the one Boston goal in the second period. But that second period, that 1-0 first period system play for the second period over and both teams to score second period. Even after last night, it's still 11-2 for the second period over after a 1-0 first period, and the both teams to score is now 9-4 for the both teams to score second period after a 1-0 first period. It's still been a great angle. So I have a feeling we might see that angle pop up here, similar to Game 5. So we'll certainly be betting that if it shows up live. But the only thing I've got pregame here is Pittsburgh goal first period, Pittsburgh first goal first period. And then we're going to look at obviously, look, empty net goal. Yes, this is an elimination game. Empty net goal, Philadelphia empty net goal, little tiny dabble on the 5.5, which we got totally brutal beat Monday night with the over 5.5. It should have hit in that game. So I'm going to bet that small, all of those smaller pregame, the third period over to the empty net props, and the full game over. And again, smaller fractions on those bets. And we're going to pounce more on a live over. If tonight, unlike Game 5, we have a scenario where Philly is leading deeper into the second period and going into the third, that's when we're going to get more bullish on a live over at that point. But we're going to look for that first because those have been the situations where the live overs and the third period overs have been at their absolute best. And that is obviously when the team that is trying to eliminate their opponent is leading in the back half of the game, and the team facing elimination is trailing in the back half of the game. Alex, what do you think here for Game 6?
Now, I'm not looking at anything early personally because here are the things that I have on the line tonight from before the series started. Series exact games ending at 6 games, plus 205, and Flyers 4-2 plus 600. So that's my money line bet essentially for tonight, rolling with Philly in that spot. What I will have is, yes, empty net goal in game plus 125, and I will have both teams to score an empty net goal. Flyers plus 270, Penguins plus 340. If we're in a spot where the Penguins have a lead late in this one, they can cash that plus 340 and a plus 125 on their own with their empty net goal, and then this goes to 7 to where I have both teams at each side, and I can pretty much just stay out of the race altogether. So that's the way that I'm looking at this. I have no third period over. I have no target for looking at it over 5.5. It's just both teams with an empty net goal and an empty net goal to be scored in this game, all at BetMGM because of the pre-flop spots that I have with Philly tonight.
There you go. And that's why I'm also hesitant. You don't see me really all that excited about betting Pittsburgh money line or Philadelphia money line pregame. And there's a reason for that. I'm in a great spot with the series pre-series because I'm on the 6 and 7 games. We're going to hit one of those. I did the Alex method of going one step further with Philly 4-2, Philly 4-3, Pittsburgh 4-2, Pittsburgh 4-3. We're going to hit, we're going to hit the 6 and 7, and we're going to hit one of those 4 exact series results. With Philly 4-2, 4-3 or Pittsburgh 4-2, 4-3. So it's almost like my job is done here. We don't really have to get too, pot committed here with individual money lines game to game now at this point in the series. So that's kind of where we stand. But we are going to get involved in some props here, of course, because the props have been actually pretty solid for most part in the Stanley Cup playoffs for us to this point. As far as point props are concerned, Philadelphia, we talked about Barkey. There's still value to me. Now, will Tocchet keep Barkey with Zegras and Tippett tonight? We'll see. As of now, there's been no change. Konechny, Dvorak. Dvorak's had a bunch of chances. The one thing I want to note about Dvorak is he's been consistently generating chances. His expected goals per game for him individually have been pretty strong in this series. I think you've still got to look, even though he hasn't always finished, Christian Dvorak, I think, could eventually break through, and you're getting a pretty good price with him too, in that plus 360, plus 380 range for him to find the back of the net here for the Flyers. Alex Bump, I'm going back to the well. Alex Bump cashed a bargain bin special for me in Game 5, plus 650. He looked solid. He was threatening. He generated chances, not just scoring the goal, but he had other chances to put the puck in the net too. He looked very comfortable. Alex Bump, we're going to go back to him on that third line. And look who's also probably back in the lineup tonight, and I think it's going to be Garnet Hathaway that's coming out. But Matvei Mishkov, healthy scratch in Game 5. looks like he's back in the lineup here tonight for Philadelphia. It looks that way anyway, because he was on the ice tonight or this morning for the morning skate, and he looks like he could be slotted on that third line with Cates and Bump. So Matvei Mishkov, and I'm tempted by Mishkov props. This guy has had, obviously, a tumultuous season. He's been in the doghouse of the head coach multiple times, not in shape. You know what I feel about the talented players when they're scratched and they come back in the lineup. That's a wake-up call. It's a slap in the face. It's a testament to get out there and be at your best and make an impact when you get this opportunity. So I think Matvei Mishkov just on the old back in the lineup, wake-up call scenario after being a healthy scratch. We've talked about this as a betting strategy with player props for years. Back the guy that's had that wake-up call, that slap in the face, especially if he's got talent, which Mishkov does to put the puck in the net. And it's a wake-up call often. So we'll buy in for tonight at least with Matvei Mishkov, that if he's in the lineup, we'll look toward, point prop, goal prop, assist prop, those kind of things. Anthony Mantha finally got going for Pittsburgh. Long overdue because of the great season he had. So if you want to ride the wave with Anthony Mantha, it's even just it's a good price just to get for him to get a point alone. Never mind the goal prop, plus 165. You can sprinkle on the goal prop too for him as well. In and around that, a pretty good price for that as well for him to find the back of the net. Plus 460 is what I'm seeing for the goal prop for Mantha too. So those are some of the props I'm looking at here tonight for the Penguins and the Flyers. Like I said, should be a real fun atmosphere in Philly. Although that building is going to get, you know what Philly fans are like. Pittsburgh gets the lead, and it's starting to look a little bit rough for them again, the Flyers. That crowd will let them hear it. All that noise and all that excitement and enthusiasm, it'll turn to groans and moans and boos maybe at some point, if things aren't going the Flyers' way. So, Philly doesn't want a Game 7. We'll see if they can avoid it here tonight with a win to finish the series. All right, next up, Game 5, out west, Utah Mammoth, Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, it's a great point. Titans CT. Hopefully no batteries flying this time around. And yeah, Robert, it is. Pressure shifted to Philly tonight, no doubt. Let's see how they respond to it. Vegas minus 160. Home favorites, 5.5 the total. This series tied at 2. This is the other game with Montreal where, and look, I've got Vegas winning Game 1 and winning the series. Pre-series, I bet that. And I really talked up Vegas winning this series. I did. And if you ask me, I still think they can win this series, but my perception has shifted a bit. Utah has been right there in every game with Vegas in this series, even the Game 1 loss in Vegas. I thought Utah actually had, I think, the edge in the shots in that Game 1 that Vegas was victorious in, if I'm not mistaken. And their speed and their ability to make plays with the puck has been a problem area for Vegas in this series. I'm going back and I'm looking, Game 1 where it was obviously 4-2 Vegas. It was 33-31 Utah in shots in that game. You look at the 3-2 win. It was another game where Utah had the shot advantage. Now, Vegas heavily outplayed Utah from a shots perspective in Game 3, and it was that game where it seemed like everything went in on Carter Hart. They had the 4 goals on 12 shots. It was actually a record where, here's Vegas only giving up, 12 shots in a playoff game, and they lose the game and they give up 4 goals. And then, of course, we saw Game 4. I thought that was one of Vegas's best games, certainly one of their best starts. But even in that game, a game where their backs are against the wall almost, because they don't want to go down 3-1. They made the adjustments. Tortorella talked about what we got to be better at. They came out with the start you wanted, 2-0. And yet there they are, and then 3-0 eventually for Vegas. And yet there's Utah ripping off 4 unanswered goals and taking the lead 4-3. And Vegas needing a tying goal from Brett Howden to get that game into overtime where they eventually won. So, again, there's just this price has Vegas minus 160. Like, they're sizably better than Utah, or at least a decent amount better. The series has not played out that way. Utah's been in every single game. These have been close games. These have been competitive games. I could only back the Mammoth here at plus 140. In fact, I'm sprinkling on Utah here, plus 140, even though Vegas has momentum and tied the series 2-2. And they could certainly ride it here into Game 5 at T-Mobile Arena and win. I don't think Utah's scared of this team. I've now watched 4 games of this series. They are not in awe and shock of this Vegas team. And my thought picking Vegas before the series was wrong. You got to admit what part of your handicap was wrong. What part of my handicap was wrong? I thought the stage was too big too soon for Utah. It's not. They've proven it's not. They have played this Vegas Golden Knights team to a fucking standstill in this series. It's that close. The margins are razor thin in this series between these two teams. This price does not indicate that. It's that simple. And that's why I'm on Utah here, plus 140 in this game. I think with Utah and with Montreal, these two mid-range, mid-sized dogs that I've bet tonight, I expect at least one of them to win. I hope both of them win, but I'm expecting at least one of them to win. And I think Utah's the value side here. Alex, what do you think here? Game 5, Utah, Vegas.
Yeah, like I said, it's a close series, and this is definitely a Vegas team that, like I said, we talked about it, how they've gotten into the playoffs. They aren't this just dominant juggernaut that we've seen the last couple of years in the first round. Like I said, Utah's not afraid of them at all. Utah can match them, if not outclass them with speed. And like I said, and the home ice advantage has certainly been Utah. T-Mobile Arena is not that scary place anymore with the big medieval times intro and all that. Yeah, everybody's used to that now. So like I said, yeah, it's definitely an edge with Utah. But the way I'm playing this is the way I've been playing it most of the series. I'm just sticking with first period overs. Minus $1.15, I'll play it small pregame and look to add a little bit more on in the game. But I definitely think we could see at least 2 goals here. Been getting burned with both teams to score the last couple of games because it was 2-0 Vegas last game, 2-0 Utah before that. So I'm just going to play it with the first period over. Minus $1.15 pregame. Like I said, play that small and then add a little bit more once it crosses the plus money a couple minutes into the contest.
Yeah, of all the games that even the Pittsburgh game where I'm on over 5.5 a little bit, I don't love it. This is the game I'd probably be most bullish on an over with, this game, because I just think the pace is there. I think both of these goaltenders have been worked harder and harder as this series has gone on, but I'm definitely splitting this, especially with it not being an elimination game. Usually an elimination game, if I like an over at all, it's all full game because we know the third period it could explode. But with this not being an elimination game, I would look to split it. First period over 1.5, full game over 5.5. And we have seen the over 1.5 cash in the first period 3 straight games in this series. Only in game 1 did the first period over not hit. Game 2 it did. Game 3 it did. Game 4 it did. And I think it's got a chance to cash once again here tonight. As far as props go for this game, we'll start with the shots on goal. It's wash, rinse, repeat for Dylan Guenther. If you're not betting Dylan Guenther shots on goal props, I mean, you're missing out. You're missing a chance because every game he's gone over 3.5, and you're still getting a plus price at many books with his over 3.5 shots prop. Dylan Guenther, he's the shooter on this team. We all collaborated on this one next. This next shot prop that I like on the Betcast Monday night. We talked about it before the game started. We noticed Pavel Dorofeyev for Vegas was moving up to the top line and getting the number 1 power play unit assignment as well. And sure enough, look what happened. He ended up having a real good game 4 for the Vegas Golden Knights in that 5-4 overtime win. He got the first goal of the game, assisted by Eichel and Barbashev. He almost scored in overtime as well. And you could tell that with the increased ice time, being on the top line, getting the number 1 power play assignment and role, he was shooting the puck more and on the ice more, and he had 4 shots on goal, and there was no adjustment for that. So Pavel Dorofeyev over 2.5 shots is probably worth a look. Again, goal assist prop, I wouldn't argue with either of those, going into this game. As far as points, close shave Barbashev, all he does is just register a point. That's what he's done in every game in this series. He remains up there with Jack Eichel and Brett Howden now on that top line at least at the end of Game 4 because of how well Howden played. I think Howden's worth a look because he's a streaky player. Got some confidence back. He had been ice cold, and then he gets the 2-goal performance in Game 4. So that is definitely something worth looking at as well. Brett Howden, Ivan Barbashev point. You could go one step further with that goal and assist prop as well. Lawson Krause to get a point. He's done that in 2 straight games. Still on the top line for Utah. So I wouldn't argue with that. Sprinkle on the goal prop too, because he's always a threat to find the back of the net. And I feel for Alex a little bit. Feel bad because he had Lawson Krause bargain bin the other night. He had a bunch of chances. Oh, he was that close.
Yeah, he did.
A couple of them,
Yeah.
which means he scores tonight. That's all that means. Yeah. So maybe we should be betting that goal prop tonight.
Maybe, yeah.
For Lawson Krause after he had those multiple good looks the other night, and it just failed to go for him. And again, that goal prop is a pretty good price too for Lawson, in that plus 340 range, no doubt. Blocked shots. Rasmus Anderson, 3 straight games with over 1.5 blocked shots. Shea Theodore, over 1.5 blocked shots in 2 straight games. Same with Sean Durzi on the blue line for Utah. Same with Ian Cole. He's gone over 2.5 blocked shots for the Mammoth in 2 straight games. Nate Schmidt, the veteran, he's gone over 1.5 blocked shots in 2 straight games as well. I kind of think this is going to be both teams getting, at least trying to shoot the puck. So I like the idea of either one of them as far as their goal save prop, Vejmelka or Hart. I think both of them could end up being save prop candidates here. Theodore on the power play. That's a great call by Robert. He's getting more power play chances. He got the overtime winner in game number 4. And Shea Theodore now, his point prop is like even money, minus 105. No adjustment based on the fact that he's getting more opportunity now on the power play. So point prop, shot props, anything like that, definitely something to keep in mind here. Dorofeyev, it looks like at the moment, third line, but I still see him number 1 power play. So, part of it was he was going to be on the top line, and he was in game 4. I'm seeing that too from our guy in the chat here, Broward County. Yeah, that he might be on the third line tonight. I still think it's still 2.5 shots on goal, and any of his props are still worth a look. Because remember, he's going to be on the power play, top power play unit still, and Eichel's going to look to put it on a tee for him because they know that guy's got the ability to finish when you put the puck in his wheelhouse. So I think that's definitely something to keep in mind, that even if he is down to the third line, he's still on the number 1 power play unit. Still has the potential to make an impact. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Again, check out wizardsportspicks.com, NHL, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB, and more. Get on board on the website, wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. I know our mantra was we wouldn't reveal betcast dates until the day of the betcast, but we do have to tweak it now that we're into this latter stage of the rounds and schedules are all over the place. I don't mind revealing it before the day, but we will have a Patreon exclusive live betcast tomorrow night. It will start. This is official now because of how it transpired last night that Edmonton stayed alive. We will be on with you at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night for Game 6. Edmonton, Anaheim, and we'll catch the end of the Dallas, Minnesota game probably, which starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be on for the end of that game, probably its conclusion, a pivotal Game 6 elimination game there between the Stars and Wild. So we always, Alex loves his Pac-12 after dark over the years in college football. How about a little betcast after dark tomorrow night? 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for Game 6, Edmonton, Anaheim. We hope you join us. And the way to join us is becoming a Patreon member. So get on board, $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show, keeping it going long term. Of course, you get goalie charts, totals charts, and the daily betting card. Sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. So get on board at patreon.com/Ice Guys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You have until midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time to get 20% off all of your orders. Just hit that redeem button at the homepage, add your items to your cart, and 20% will be taken off at checkout. Playoff time, springtime, this is a great time to get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a cap, a couple t-shirts, and you can save 20% off until midnight Eastern tonight. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night. Best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right. Thanks a lot to our great sponsors and our hero. Just get it up on the screen now because I forgot to post it when we talked about it. But there you go, just to make sure we're not telling any fables. There it is. Edmonton, Anaheim tomorrow night, Thursday, April 30th, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Patreon exclusive live betcast. 3-2 Anaheim in the series. This Edmonton Stanley Cup contending team. They've gone to the finals 2 years in a row. They're trying to keep this foundational run alive, if you will, tomorrow night. That should be a real fun game, real fun betcast. So again, make sure you join us, patreon.com/Ice Guys. Game 6, Oilers Ducks, live betcast tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Alex, what do you got?
Let's go to that Montreal Tampa Bay game, and we've all said it. I've said it. This Lightning team looks to be cooked compared to where it was the dynasty run of several years ago, that the window seems to be closing. But like I said, I feel like this is a game tonight where they show that veteran punch. They find a way to get the job done. I think one of those veteran guys who we've seen do it time and time again in a Bolts uniform, it's Yanni Gourde. Give me him anytime goal scorer plus 700 available at FanDuel to get on the board tonight for Tampa Bay. Yanni Gourde, anytime goal scorer for the Lightning. That's my bargain bin special tonight.
All right. And good value, too. Yanni Gourde on the second line for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Alex going with that for bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday slate. Bargain bin special of the night, or Wednesday slate, I should say. Bargain bin special of the night for me. I'm going to Montreal, Tampa, and I'm going to go to Mr. Bolduc. I think this is a guy that can get crazy streaky, going back to when he was with the St. Louis Blues, and I find he's getting more and more confidence. Gets the goal in game 4, and at plus 700, I think it's definitely a bargain bin worthy price. Zach Bolduc for Montreal, plus 700 for my first bargain bin special of the night for this Wednesday night slate. My second bargain bin special of the night for this slate, I am going to go to, and I'm actually going to take a shot with the guy that Alex did the other night, Lawson Krause, Utah, plus 330. Best price available for him. I like the price. I think there's a chance he finds the back of the net. He had some just tremendous opportunities the other night. The puck just didn't go in, but he's on the top line. He's getting the minutes, getting the chances. Lawson Krause, Utah, plus 330, along with Zach Bolduc, Montreal, plus 700 for bargain bin special of the night. I like Robert's choice, Brett Howden, as well. That's going to be on my goal prop card for sure. Brett Howden, plus 325. That's a good one. But officially, we're going to go Bolduc and Krause for bargain bin special. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Let's go with Utah and Vegas. And like I said, that's been a back and forth kind of a series. I expect to see some goals early in that contest once again. So let's go the first period over 1.5 minus $1.15 with the Mammoth and the Golden Knights.
All right, Vegas, Utah, over 1.5 first period for Alex with his best bet. My best bet for this slate, let's go with that. I like it. Bleu, blanc, rouge, le Canadien, le Canadien. We're going to go for that big underdog score tonight. Montreal to get the job done against Tampa Bay. Well, I have no qualms whatsoever. Doesn't mean it's going to win here, this Montreal bet. But when you have a chance to take this good of a price and this even of a series, and you're going against a team that's, 2-11 in their last 13 home playoff games, you're going to take a chance on a price like this with a team like this. And again, Tampa, 2-11 run in their last 13 home playoff games. So we're going to take Montreal here, plus 150 for my best bet here for this Wednesday NHL slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Looking forward to these 3 games. Again, we got our betcast tomorrow night, Patreon exclusive for Game 6 at the Honda Center in the OC, Edmonton and Anaheim. Ducks with another chance to finish off the Oilers, 10 p.m. Eastern, Thursday night. Join us for that. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.